Hi, if you, for whatever reason, have come across this screen where you need to connect your PS4 or 5 controller using a USB cord and then press the PS button to continue, but nothing happens when you do so, this can usually and hopefully be solved with one of these fixes. I'm using a PS4 console here, but the process is basically the same on the PS5 as well. Hence the PS5 controller also getting to be in on this one. Alright, first, and this is usually the thing that is the actual problem, make sure that the cable you are using supports data transfers and not just charging. This is more common, and in fact extremely common, on the micro USB cables used for the controllers on the PS4, where many of them only support charging but not sending data, which is needed for the button press to actually transfer over to the PlayStation console in this case. Most USB-C cables used for the PS5 controllers does support both charging and data. However, there are third-party variants even here that only supports charging, so it's definitely worth to check out. So if you got more USB cables lying around, try a few others as well to see if that solves the problem. If you got the original charging cable for the console and the controller, use that. So even if the cable you normally use to charge the controller works fine for that, it might not work for this very specific purpose. If that does not do it, make sure the controller and the cable you're using are free of dirt and dust. This affects both the PS4 and PS5 controllers, but the micro USB port on the PS4 controllers are notorious for collecting dust and through that becoming completely unable to work properly or even at all. So cleaning it out by just blowing into the port a few times, or if it's really bad, carefully use some kind of soft toothpick to try and get rid of any visible dust and dirt, usually does the trick. Be careful here though to not damage the small metal pins on the inside of the USB port. If that still doesn't work and you are indeed fairly sure that the cable is capable of data transfer and the ports are clean, the next step is to try and reset the controller. To do this, flip the controller over and locate the little hole on the back. Grab a small pin or needle, I'm using a SIM extractor tool here, and push it down the hole and then push the tiny button at the end of the hole for just over 5 seconds. Wait a little bit and then try and plug the controller back in using the cable and then again press the PS button to see if it works. If you're still out of luck here, other than trying another controller, there is basically only one more thing to try, and that is to see if the controller works in safe mode, and from there reset the default settings and, or worst case, reset the whole console. To start this process, begin by turning the PlayStation console completely off by holding the power button for about 5 to 10 seconds until the console shuts down. Then again, push and hold the power button until you first hear the normal startup beep, and then keep holding the button until you hear a second beep, and then let go of the button. Now you'll see a similar screen telling you to connect the controller with a cable and press the PS button again. The likelihood of this actually working here, if it didn't work before, is actually fairly slim. However, if you're actually able to push the PS button here and get into the safe mode menu, it could indicate that there is a software error causing the issue in the first place. In this case, you can try and pick the Restore Default Settings alternative to restore some of the operating system's settings to their factory defaults. This option does not delete any saves, screenshots, game profiles, etc. Note though that the number before the option is different on the safe mode variants for the PS4 and PS5 consoles, just so you don't pick the wrong one. If this too does nothing, you could also try and pick the Rebuild Database option. This does take a while to complete and basically recreates the whole operating system again, also without deleting any of the user data. And as a last resort, if nothing else works, you could also try to reset or initialize your PlayStation console. This option does delete everything stored on the console, including game saves, profiles, screenshots, etc. So make sure you are okay with this, and also hopefully have a cloud save of all your data that you want to keep before proceeding. Alright, hope one of these tips helps you get past the controller lockout screen and get back into your console. Please though share any thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I'll do my best to help with what I can. Thank you for watching, bye!